Good morning, my name is Franklin. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be checking a New Holland RG80 motor grader. The customer says that it needs a starter. So we're going to check it out. He says it won't crank. He's checked it out and this needs a starter. So we're going to check it out, and if it needs a starter, we're going to take it off and put on a new one. Let's get to it. Okay, let's take a look at it here. I'll check out the dash here, and that is a Kubota switch. So let's find the Kubota key. It doesn't have a Kubota. I don't know why it has a Kubota switch, but maybe it is a Kubota. This is a New Holland machine. Let's check it out here. Maybe it has a Kubota. I don't know. Okay. I hear something. I hear a little click back there. Okay. I hear a little click in the back, so maybe that's a solenoid or a start relay or something. Let's go to the back and check it out. Okay, for those of you who haven't seen the RG80 New Holland motor grader, it actually does work pretty good. I've seen them in action. This one here, as you can see, is pretty old, but it still works perfectly normally. Okay, I heard a clicking noise around here somewhere. So, the starter should be here. It's hard to get open. Okay. It is not hard to get open. Okay, but this is, it looks like it's leaking a little fuel there. And let's see. I have my, let's make sure it's in neutral. Yes, it is in neutral. Okay. Hey, where'd you come from? Hey, got a little dog here. Okay, let's do, I got my starter checker here, just to make sure before we start screwing around too much. Okay. This wire here, we'll make sure it's, this wire here is the wire for the starter. Okay. 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 This wire here is your crank wire. On that Kubota switch, it would be number 50, but it may go through a relay or something before that. But anyway, this is the wire that goes from the starter, and then that's your main power from the battery right there. So let's, just to make sure the starter is bad, before we take it off, we'll jump across. It actually cranks. So the problem is not the starter. Okay, and I heard it click. So it's not the solenoid, because the solenoid does kick in. It's got to be a start relay somewhere. What's that right there? Let's see. That looks like a start relay right there. So we should be able to. So that's probably going to be a problem right there. Start relay here. Okay, one way to find out, if you turn the key, this one here should click for one thing. If it's clicking and this thing is closing, that means the contacts are not going. One of these comes from the battery. So when you turn your key, it puts power to this one, and the other side is grounded, so it passes current from this one to that one. Actually, from this big fat one here to the smaller one. And then what that does is that sends power. This one here is going to be the one that goes to this wire right here. One of these wires are going to be the one that goes over to this one. And this one here is, oh yeah, I'm pulling it, and it seems like, see, I'm pulling on this wire here. One's a little fatter than the other one. Looks, no, they're about the same size in my eyes. But anyway, one of these wires is going to be this one right here that goes to here on the starter. So when you turn it number 50 on the switch, it's power and sends power to this one. That one's a ground, so this one right here on this side. This one's green, is probably a ground. Nope, that one's black. That's probably the ground. So this one here probably, when you turn the key, it sends power to this one right here. And that one closes this one to that one, and that sends power from here to there. Now we know it works when we jump across here. So it's going to be the contacts on this thing right here. And one way to find out is for sure is to jump a wire between here to there. And that way, if it cranks, then you know that's the problem. So let's do that. Okay, let's go over it again. This machine, the customer wants me to come out and change the starter because there's no crank. He says it has a bad starter. I came out here, turned the key, no crank, but then I put the screwdriver from here, this little tab, to this one right here, and the starter cranks perfectly. So the starter's not bad. It's got to have an electrical problem somewhere else. So then I was turning the key, it was making a click, but the click was not coming out of here. That means it has to have a start relay somewhere. So if you take this wire and pull it, look what moves, those wires over there. So that wire goes over to here. And I found this little start relay was completely covered in dirt and mud, so I couldn't see it. But now I found it. So that means this is probably the problem. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump across that deal right there just to make a quick test to make sure that is the problem. We can also turn the key and see if it cranks that. This is disconnected. So we're going to turn the key. Hear it click. While fuel pump's on, you hear that click right there. So that means that this is not connected, so it's not the solenoid. It is this relay that's clicking right here. So to test this relay, we don't want to put one. See, you got this wire here, this big one, and that one right there. When you put 12 volts to this other wire here, one wire goes to ground, and then you get 12 volts going into the other wire. When that turn that key to the start position, it sends power to this wire right here, and that connects this one to that one. The two big white ones connect together. Okay, before we do that though, we gotta connect this wire back on so it'll engage the starter. So they put this wire back on the starter, and then we'll jump across these two, and that we'll be bypassing the contacts inside the relay. Okay, you hear that? So that means when you turn the key, this one clicks. So it's supposed to cross. It may not be closing, or the contacts are all worn out, so it doesn't make a good contact. So now we know for sure the problem is this little start relay right here. So we'll go buy that at O'Reilly's. Should be able to find one over there. We'll come right back. Okay, before you go buy your relay, you want to make sure that what you have is a 12 volt system, not a 24 volt system, because some of these motor graders are actually 24, not 12, and even the small ones, some of them end up being 24. So you don't want to spend a whole day screwing around with it and end up with the wrong relay. It won't work because it's the wrong voltage. Okay, so we'll put this one here like this. We'll put one on the battery. We'll put one on the battery on the positive wire right here. We'll just stick one in here into the positive. That's coming straight from the battery right there. That one you see on the starter, that will come straight from the battery, and one on a good ground, doesn't matter where, as long as you got a good ground. And then you want to check, make sure it's on DC voltage, of course, which it is not, it's on amps. And we got 12.37. That means that is a fully charged battery. Okay. You know, we got a 12 volt fully charged battery. Yeah, I got a little closer and get a good look at that. I had to clean it off, it was quite dirty. So power goes in on this green wire. When you turn the key, power comes in on this wire here. This other wire, the black one, goes straight to ground. So when you put power from the key, when you turn it, power comes out of that number 50 and goes in here, energizes this, and then the contacts close. It's got two contacts that goes across here. It closes and sends the power from this wire that comes from the battery over to this wire right here. And this wire is the one that goes right here into the side of the starter. So it clicks, so it does close, but the contacts are worn out, so the power doesn't actually get from this wire to that wire, and it just clicks only. That's all. Okay, I went on to O'Reilly's, and the cheapest one they had was $38. They were for $56. So I went to Amazon and got this one for $11, and it looks the same as that one there, just a different color, and it's the start solenoid. So I'm gonna go ahead and install this one, and then we'll give it a shot. Okay, what you want to do is make sure you get this one and this one and this one have to be in the right place. The side ones don't matter too much, but this one and this one got to be in the right place. If you look at it, you should see two numbers. Oh yeah, one is an I and an S, which means signal and ignition. So you see that one there's going to be marked too. But they may not be in the exact same place. But if you look at it, it's like this. So I want to make sure the S goes where the S is, and the I goes where the I is. Now some of them will only have the I, they won't have the S. Because this one sometimes isn't ground, it just goes to a light somewhere showing that you're actually cranking or something like that. But what you want to make sure for sure that is the I is in the right spot, right there. And the other one could be a ground, or sometimes it could be something else. This one here, because it has an S, it may not be a ground. So we'll make sure you get them back in the same place. Okay, now remember what I mentioned about the I and the S? Look at that. There's an I and there's an S. Ignition and signal. If you look at this one right here, it's got an I and an S. You can't get those mixed up because it won't work properly most of the time. And anyway, so power comes on one, and this black one here is going to ground. So when you turn the crank, listen switch to make it crank, it sends power to this one right here. It closes. This one comes from the battery. It's 12 volts there all the time. And when you put power to these two, it'll cross over to this wire right here. And that wire goes out and goes to this wire, which cranks your starter. It goes that little wire right there, and it'll crank your starter. So what's happening now, it cranks, and the contact's closed. When you push this key now, it cranks. You can hear it click. It closes, but the contact in there is all worn out. The little nickel contact's worn out, so no power actually gets over to that one right there. Because to find out, we jumped it across manually, and it worked. So now what we're going to do is we're going to transfer all the wires from that one over to this one right here, and then we'll try it again. Okay, as you can see, this is the new one. It came with this little package, and it always comes with washers and new nuts. So you don't want to use the other ones, but you do want to, if you want to, normally I would usually save these in a little cup somewhere, because sometimes you lose these screws, they get falling down and you're missing them. So I would just I throw this thing here away, but I always keep the screws just in case you need them. You always need a nut or a bolt. I'm sorry, the nuts. I usually keep the nuts right there, and I just throw this thing away because it's useless. Okay, so I had it connected and I tested it, and it did not work. So this wire was okay, but it's using the chassis ground, so we're not going to use the other black wire unless we put it on the ground. It grounds to the chassis right here. So it takes this wire, and then a ground has to be connected up to here. When you crank the key, it starts and runs. This wire here is not being used. It's a different setup than this one right here. So it's Chinese, so it's probably a little bit different. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and ground this base, and then we'll crank it up again. Okay, it cranks up and we're good to go. The only difference is that this particular coil here had the same markings, but it grounds through here on this one, and the other one grounds through the chassis right there. So we only really needed to put on one wire. The green one that was on this side, we connected that one, and then we cleaned the mounting bolts off. Clean the mounting bolts off really good. The paint with some sandpaper and the screwdriver, then we bolted together, and that's all we need was that one wire right there, and it cranks right up. Okay, let's give it a shot and see if it cranks. There it goes. It's cranking. It might be low on. Batteries are a little bit low. Have to charge them up, but it's cranking. So that's all we're supposed to do. Sounds good.